ceremonies, Nathan Cassar.
Well, welcome to the Just As Planned TV and podcast show, where we bring the wedding experts to your home, to you or to your speakers or to your car or wherever you're listening this from, to provide you with insider tips and knowledge to help you make your special day go just as planned. Now, I'm your host and professional wedding MC, Nathan Cassar, and it's such a great privilege to be here for episode 2 of what's going to be an incredible season. And today, I'm excited to introduce to you all a very good friend of mine and also an incredible wedding planner, Emily Barnes, the owner of Emily Jean Events. Let me tell you a little bit about her. So first off, with over 9 years of experience in the industry, she certainly doesn't look like she's been around for 9 years because she looks very young. Emily is a pro at making your dream wedding a reality. And today we're going to chat with her about all the juicy details you've been dying to know about wedding planning. Now we're going to be getting down to the nitty-gritty and finding out what wedding vendors really do behind the scenes. Now, a little bit of a hint, a little bit of a sneak peek. It's much more than just showing up on the day with a smile and a clipboard, I can tell you that. Plus, we'll be discussing the age-old question of whether cheap is always the way to go when it comes to suppliers. Spoiler alert, Emily's got some big opinions on that one. But wait, there's more. Emily will also be sharing her top do's and don'ts when it comes to planning your big day, and we'll be diving into the questions you should be asking your vendors to avoid any last-minute surprises. Trust us, you really don't want to miss out on this expert advice. So folks, grab a cup of tea or a glass of your favorite bubbly, or if you're driving, we'll just keep on focusing on the road in front of you, but sit back and relax and get ready for a fun and engaging chat with my dear friend, the amazing Emily Barnes. Emily, hello, welcome.
Hello, thank you for having me.
No, it's great to have you on the show. We did back in the day, and I say this like we've known each other for about a year or so now. We talked about sort of doing something like this, and it's so nice to finally be able to get your expertise out there to the entire world. So from all 4 corners of the globe, they're listening to you right now. They're right on the edge of the seat. I think I want to start with finding out what makes a wedding planner tick. What gets you out of bed to do what you do? Because it is a massive job that you're literally planning, taking people you don't know, and then you're getting to know them. And then over the course of a number of months, or perhaps just over a year, you're creating their dream reality. So like, what gets you out of bed to do that?
My coffee. No, I think, the couples we work with, they become like friends, and we're very close with them, as you would expect to be with someone who's planning a very personal event. So it's that close connection we make with our couples. It's that excitement of, every day's not the same. What's going to happen today? And yeah, that's really what gets me out of bed.
I love that. That's a good reason as any, right? Of course, we'd all say money, but I mean, look, we do. But for all of us,
say that?
No, but look, I don't think anybody's kidding themselves if they get out of bed and it's not for the purposes of money. But the good thing about the wedding industry is that we want so much more than that. We want to be able to, as you said, to be a part of someone's big day. And if it's not for us, then don't get me wrong, people can do it themselves. And I'm sure there's going to be lots over this next season about how people can really do it by themselves. But, when they do call in people like us, they're really bringing in some big expertise to help them to make sure that everything can go just as planned. So I want to know, let's talk behind the scenes first. So before we even, people, the day's so crazy, right? And so the guests and the couples, they don't really know what we're doing to some degree. Obviously, they know the things they expect on us in a contract and generally what a wedding planner does. But give me an insight into the things that maybe they're not seeing, but still is incredibly crucial to the day-to-day of what you offer to the whole day.
I think a lot of it is the communication. Like in the pre-planning, there's a lot of communication that goes between myself, the couple, the venue, the suppliers, and it's like a triangle, really. You're liaising with multiple people throughout the pre-planning. So there's a lot of that. I basically have to do everyone else's job. So I don't know if, vendors see that, oh, that wedding planner would just be super chilled out and whatever.
Mm,
But when I get quotes and invoices, you really have to go over them to make sure they're correct before you're sending them off to your couple. You need to go over the contract and the agreement to make sure everyone's covered. And like it's just all those little bits and pieces that the couple don't see.
mm.
And then just so on the day, I mean, as you said, it's really hectic on the day. What they don't see is the bump in, which
Oh, that's so
is
true.
crazy,
Yeah.
especially when some venues have a very small bump in time, so like an hour, 45 minutes before the day, and it's like a circus.
That's where the coffee comes in, I'm sure. The extra doses of caffeine on the day.
Oh, definitely. I mean, honestly, I don't have time to even get a drink of water on the day. Like that's how
Yeah.
crazy it is. So, but yeah, definitely bumping is something they don't see. That is the most craziest part of the wedding day.
Yeah, you're so right about that because it's amazing how quickly you can just strike everything at the end of a night, right? It's so easy to tear down something, but to create
Yeah.
something is just that is just. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like I've been a part of many bump-in processes, but I just you reminding me now because I'm what I do. I show up about an hour before the guests
Hmm.
arrive, so usually I'm seeing a little bit of the bump in, but I'm getting a lot of like when I'm working with you and I get on site. You've already been there for 2 3 hours. Sometimes if you've been given a generous amount of time, and you've been all over the place getting all this stuff ready to go, and I'm just like, hello, how's everything going today? So we appreciate it too. People like myself and photographers, videographers, DJs who don't have to do much of that, and we have such a
Mm.
different role to play. Like we thank you as much as, of course, I'm sure your brides and grooms do too.
Yeah, yeah.
And sort of this sort of speaks a bit to the greater value of what you offer as a wedding planner, but also just generally as speaking for wedding suppliers, because as you say, you are sourcing so many different wedding suppliers out there.
Yeah.
Can you give me some insights? Because I see it on Facebook groups quite a lot. This idea of like, I need a supplier that doesn't cost an arm and a leg. If I had a penny, I wouldn't need to be in this business. Or I want someone that gets good value for what they get, but I don't want to pay too much. What's is this a myth? Like, is cheap always just the way to go, or is there some sort of good middle ground that people really need to be aware of when they're choosing their suppliers?
Yeah, so there is definitely a middle ground, and I think there is so much that people need to be aware of when they get quotes and something's majorly cheaper than another quote.
Mm,
And it all comes down to like service, quality. If that person does that as a side business, and how are they going to be available to you 9 to 5 when you have urgent questions? Are they new to the industry and they don't have much industry experience? Are they outsourcing admin so that they don't have to do it? There are so many like of these little factors that go into a supplier's price. So cheap is not always best. And completely understand everyone has a budget, everyone
of
has,
course.
a cost that they have to stick to because, like, let's face it, weddings aren't cheap.
No.
Um, and, you know, it's a pretty big amount of money to spend on an event. And you'd honestly only want to do it once, but, you know, um,
So is it
but
fair to
yeah,
say
so
then, but a certain amount of money spent within certain degrees, of course, and looking over contracts and checking the vibe and so forth, a good amount of money
mm,
spent will ensure to a good degree that you actually are making sure your once only special day really is being taken care of appropriately compared to
mhm.
just aiming for bottom line.
Yeah, definitely. I think that when you're obtaining quotes, you'll usually get a really cheap quote, you'll get a mid-range quote, and you'll get quite a high quote. And I think, that for me as a wedding planner, when something comes in really cheap, I start asking questions. And it's when I start asking these questions that I can see why everything's cheap. And it could be like the communication's not there, the
Mm.
quality's not there. There are hidden costs and fees that we need to ask questions that are, this is why it's cheap, but we need to bump in the day before. So to have that day of bump in is going to cost an extra $500. So there are just those questions as well that we should be asking suppliers to actually figure out which supplier is perfect for you.
I love that. And I think another question I wanted to ask you that sort of expands on this, so we'll put that in one basket, right, about the choice of suppliers. But on a sort of more macro, bigger scale, what are your general like top do's and don'ts when it comes to planning a wedding? Let's say, for instance, they want to go. I mean, a lot of people do go out themselves. They don't give you a call, and so
Yeah.
they love to better keep the control. So but either way, ideal world, do's, don'ts. How do you go about it?
Look, my top don't is having people chip in and pay for the wedding.
Really?
And yeah, look, I know it sounds crazy that I'm saying
No,
this,
I'm fascinated to hear
but
this because, yeah, okay, yeah.
the reason is that um, anyone who contributes to a wedding budget has a say in the
Mm,
decisions. So, I've had past clients where parents have paid for the wedding or like a chunk of the wedding. And I get brides calling me in tears because the parents are taking over decisions that now
mm.
becomes the parents' wedding over, the couple's wedding. So my number one don't is to have anyone contribute to the budget. And if
Okay.
they do, they just need to be aware that there are, a few things involved where it comes to decision making.
That's a big one. Okay. What's a
Mm.
big do?
Big do is hire a wedding planner. No,
I mean,
I
look,
think
I support that. I mean, I've seen the weddings you put together that I've been able to work with you on. So, like, don't get me wrong. Like, I fully attest to and also, I'm not gonna lie, it usually a lot of the stuff I get the burden of, which I don't mind. It's part of my service, but like, I get a lot of the burden of like the sort of the half planning, quasi sort of coordinating towards the end of
yeah.
this like before we get to the wedding. And so when I know I've got a planner on the list, I just go, beautiful. Easy day for me too. So,
No.
but yeah, no. I mean, look, why? Of course, why would people? Why would you stress that people should consider it?
I think it's just, coming down to knowledge, experience. This is my full-time job. Like I've been doing this for quite a long time. So it's kind of like if I was a barista and I was making coffees in the morning.
Mm,
Um, that professional advice, knowledge is so valuable to couples. And I think having a stress-free wedding planning experience is really important as well because you're only engaged once.
mm,
That time as an engaged couple and you're planning a wedding, it can be very stressful and can put a lot of pressure not only on your relationship with your partner but on your in-laws, friends. Couples have had falling outs with bridesmaids over decisions. And yeah, I think definitely think hiring a wedding planner, even if they can't afford a wedding planner, at least reach out to a planner for some consultations one-on-one where we can go through everything.
And I really like that because I know that you offer that, and there are a number of others out there who do that. And I think that is such a great strategy. It's like it's okay to say we can't have the full Ritz,
Yeah,
the whole planned out, or perhaps we would really do enjoy the control of it all. But you know, most people that we do weddings for are not event planners, wedding planners, etc. So as you're right, it's our
exactly.
full time jobs. So
Yeah.
I love that. That's so fantastic, and that's such a new. I think it's a bit of a new age thing, but I think it's a really clever strategy if you can afford the budget to just go that little bit extra. So,
Yeah,
um,
yeah. And it may cost a couple $100, but the
mm,
value that you get in these consultations is enormous.
absolutely, I totally agree with you there. I'm actually surprised you didn't say a big do is to make sure you get the cake right because I know that you're like a massive
You know
sweet
what?
tooth.
Yes, I am. I have the biggest sweet tooth. so the cake, when it comes to organizing the cake for us, it is like the most important
Because
list.
you've baked cakes before, right? For couples.
Yeah, I have actually. Yeah, so sometimes I've had couples where their date's really hard to find a vendor, so I've just kind of thrown that out there and baked some cupcakes and cakes for couples, and it's
I
really
love
nice
that
because
though.
I get
It's
to eat them too. So
I like that as like a double-edged sword there. But I do love that you're like, that's such a great example of going above and beyond. And I think it's really crucial that when you're bringing
yeah.
this expertise in, to keep in mind that,
Mm.
there are people like you and I who have, additional skills. And sometimes depending on your relationship with them and obviously how the journey's gone, we're always willing to pitch in. So I
Oh,
absolutely love that.
definitely.
And I've had your
Definitely.
cupcakes. They're amazing. Um,
Yeah, they are.
I wanted to also ask you because I know again it's a big theme at the moment. The current climate is tough. I don't
Yeah.
know. Depending on when people are listening to this, they may be like, "No, everything's fine now. Interest rates are really low." But like for now, as of recording, times are tough. And so the big question on everybody's mind is price, 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 price. But there's obviously ways that people can go about it to when you're quoting and asking for quotes of vendors. I know that you've got some ideas on sort of how to avoid some nasty surprise at the end of it all. Could you give us some
Hmm.
quick hot tips on sort of questions to ask that may be able to influence that price a little bit?
Yeah, so definitely when you're contacting suppliers, try and give them as much information as possible. I always, tell my couples that there is no information that is useless. Suppliers might get like an inquiry and they're like, oh, well, don't really need to know that, but it's good to know.
Mm,
And these details can affect pricing. So one of the questions we always ask when we get a quote is, does this include GST? Because
mm,
not all
mm.
suppliers include GST into their quote. And then when you get the invoice, you're, coming up with like, oh, that didn't include GST. Now it's going to cost us extra.
Mm-hmm.
Telling vendors like bump in times, bump out times, those can affect a quote. So generally a Monday bump out is cheaper than a Sunday bump out. So,
Mm, mm.
having these conversations with your venue, having these conversations with suppliers up front, can save nasty surprises.
No, those are great things, particularly the GST thing, because I know that it's not really a. I mean, there are rules when it comes to how services are advertised, but it definitely
Hmm.
still is a bit of a people do, people don't. So I love that.
Yeah,
That's all fantastic. Um,
yeah.
I want to know. Sort of. Let's divert for a second here. Tell me, I would love to hear like your one of your prime stories from a wedding because you've just like you're
Oh,
obviously
wow.
so embedded in the whole process, even much more. You get to know them more than even I do as an MC. So, like, tell me, like, just what top of mind, best story you can come up with. Go.
That is so hard.
I didn't mean to throw you on the spot.
Oh my gosh, best story as in like best wedding or
Oh,
like
whatever it interprets.
nightmare.
I just want to see. I want to hear. The people want to hear. Like what's one that you like? You wake up in the morning and you just think, or you see it come up on your like reminders as an anniversary, and you go, oh, well, that was the beautiful wedding. I loved that one.
Oh, okay. I did a wedding last year and I worked with a couple for a good like 18 months prior to the wedding. They started to become, felt like really good friends on the morning of their wedding. Um, I actually cried
It's beautiful. I
because I
love
was
that.
like, I was so happy it was their wedding day, but then I was like,
Hmm.
oh, their service ends with me today. I'm so sad.
Oh. But that's
Um,
such a good thing, right? Like you've done
I
such a good job and you've
know.
had that connection built. So that's
And they
beautiful.
were such an amazing couple. Like, they were so in love and they were just so like cruisy. And I think, having a client that really appreciates your work as well makes such a big difference.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely.
but yeah, so that was definitely my favorite wedding.
I love that.
Sorry,
That's so
everyone
beautiful.
else.
No, don't even. No, that's great. No, but that is
No, it was
like
just like weird.
what I love about that, obviously apart from just how beautiful it is that what it really shows, and I'm sure that any vendor listening right now would say the same thing. They've all got a story just like that, probably multiple just like that they really did feel like sad in a happy way that the whole thing had come to fruition and it had come so good that you would easily be friends with them outside of the workplace and outside of being their planner, and you've really connect with them on a level that has been unreached compared to others. So that's the biggest thing, right? That actually there's a heart involved in the industry. It's not just, as we said at the beginning, about the money. There's actually a lot of heart into the reason why we do what we do. We sacrifice our weekends, we're available to talk anytime, all that kind of stuff. It's just
exactly.
about Speaking, one last thing I want to address with you before we go. I wanted to talk about what kind of perspective can you give couples out there about, so as you said, most of them first time engaged, first time being married, maybe not, but if that is the case, what can they expect actually happens on the day? I know it's a big question, but from your lens, what is the best things you can sort of like put into their mind about what they can expect?
Okay, I think I really need to address this because a lot of couples go, I want it to be perfect. And I have to it's not going to be perfect in a good way. So I think, a lot of people watch Hollywood movies about weddings and they go, oh, that's how I want my wedding to be. And I'd love my wedding to be like that too. But I know stuff happens on the day and there is stuff happens that we can't control. The biggest thing that I always recommend is having like a plan B for wet weather, because I know some couples out there, they just go, it's not going to rain. We don't have a plan B because it's not going to rain, and it's going to rain.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's, I think
I love
on
that.
the day, it's just crazy. Like bumping is, like I said, bumping's the craziest part. Yeah.
I don't think you could have got any more perfect than that. I think that's honestly the best way to end it today. Telling people that, don't sacrifice the good for the perfect. Everything is going to be A-okay. We are all there as professionals to take care of the things that maybe are a little worthy, a bit more drama. But for everything else, if the speeches don't happen at 8:30 and they happen at 8:39, like that is A-okay.
Yeah, it's not bad if the run sheet does not run exactly to the minute. As long as, you're having fun and the day is flowing smoothly, that's all that matters.
And you both say yes, and it's all okay.
And just say yes.
Well, Emily, it was an absolute privilege and honor to have you on the show. Thank you so much for giving your time to share your insights as a planner. Good luck out there. I know you're fully booked all the way till October this year and counting.
Yeah,
so
September, thank you.
Did you say September? Oh, it's October. It's going to happen like next week. But I look forward to getting to work with you again. And of course, I'm so glad that all the lovely folks here that listening have been able to get some great insights. Take care, and I'll see you out there.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, there you have it. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Just As Planned TV and podcast show. We hope you enjoyed this episode and found some valuable insights and tips to help you plan your dream wedding. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button on our channel and turn on notifications to stay up to date with our latest episodes. And if today's episode has inspired you in your own wedding journey, feel free to let us know in the comment section or simply send through any burning questions you may have to hello@justasplan.com.au. We wish you all the very best in planning your big day, and we hope your wedding goes just as planned.